Alright guys, we're back with another Dark Irregular deck profile. I call this one my Dark Irregular Ultra Fail deck profile. Originally I thought it would be a neat idea to try out this deck the way it was, but it turned out to be an abysmal failure, mostly due to a few clerical errors that I'm going to point out as we go. So as you can see, we have Werfelder, Ozendaz, G-Break 1, Counterblast 1, and Soul Charge 2 cards, and if you have 6 or more, draw a card. He also gets moved into the Soul. For our triggers, this is where I made my first mistake. It's 4 heals, 8 stands, 4 of the Monochrome of Nightmare Land, where at G-Break 1, I can put it back to the top of my deck, Soul Charge 1, and draw a card. My next 4 are the Dark Queen of Nightmare Land, where when it boosts an attack that hits, I may Soul Charge 1 and flip it back into the deck. And then finally, I have the Mad Hatter of Nightmare Land, draw trigger. What I should have done would have been to put 8 crits in the deck, and it would have been a lot more pressure-y, as me and a lot of my friends have previously discussed. The 8 stands were the first mistake of the deck. Now on to the next few bits. We have 4 perfect shields. Just the newer ones because since I felt this deck was going to be a bit more damage heavy than what it was necessary. We have 4 Succubus of Pure Love, as this was a stride-focused deck. Next up, 2 Yellow Bolt. Rest it, Soul Charge 1. Great for building up tons of soul. Next up, we have Killing Dollmaster, where during my next main phase, I may move it into the Soul and Soul Charge 2. Overall, the grade 1s weren't that bad. I felt I put too much Soul Charging in, but the deck never built up enough momentum for me to really deck out because of it. Several matches, and it was never a problem with as much Soul Charging as there is among the grade 1s. Next up for the grade 2, this was my first mistake, putting in 4 Psychic of Dust as Isaiah. It was a big mistake, namely because I never got into the Legion, so essentially he was a 9k vanilla slowing the deck down. I put in 3 Knife Conductor. Not a bad choice as I got to stride and got to use the 12k attacker ability, but still felt it slowed down the deck. And then we have 4 Squallmaker Vampire, probably the only smart choice in grade 2s, as it's both useful as just a vanilla, but once it's on rearguard and I've stridden at least once, he's infinitely more useful. Then for our grade 3s, we have, of course, 4 Charlotte Vampire, that when you stride over him, you can counterblast 1, and if you have X number of cards in Soul, well, he can, upon attack, force your opponent to choose and retire a card, which is not all that bad, and as well as you get to Soul Charge 2 more cards. Alright, then finally we have Psychic of Storm Regil, where he has 2 different abilities that work hand in hand with each other. If you have 10 or more cards in Soul, well, you may counterblast 2 and kill 2 cards on your opponent's field. But if you have 15 or more, you may counterblast 2 and not only get the 10 and plus ability, but plus that. So you can basically destroy their field with that, with the exception of resist units. Unfortunately, I never got to use him as he never showed up in time, or if he did show up, the chances of using him and then winning after using him were so low that it didn't make a difference. So that made this deck very, very sad for me to play. I'm actually going to retool it and try and rework it to be a much better one. Just like my other deck profile, we have 2 Demon Gogol. Just for the sake of, if I have to use it for G-Assist, it's easily thrown away without me being like, oh my god, I have to make this huge, life-changing decision to alter my Stride deck by getting rid of 2 cards. 2 Kiss Killera, which for this deck, as much soul charging as it had, never became effective. As even when I would stride, they would just guard it and then kill the deck the next turn, since it had no critical threat in it. It was not much of, a threat. Then we have 4 Gilderays, which, once again, with the way this deck works, with it having so many blocks in it, never came as an option to be used in the deck, which is sad in and of itself. But I'm hoping that, once I improve the deck, it'll be a lot more cooperative to actually pull off these skills. But at the moment, I'm going to say this deck is the exemplary of a deck list fail. It didn't work, even though it seemed it might be a good idea on paper. But we'll see what improvements I'll make to it, and I'll be sure to post up another one. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and don't be afraid to drop your own opinions. Alright guys, we'll catch you later.